Welcome everybody to our first annual baby shower for the Wildlife Clinic. We want to show you what happens with the baby orphans, mammals and birds who come into our clinic for care. I'm Rebecca, I'm the Director of Wildlife Rehabilitation and the Wildlife Rehabilitator here, and this is Chris, our Assistant Director and our second rehabilitator. We're going to show you our baby mammal room right now.
It is the busiest room that we have going on right now. I don't know if you can see some of the numbers behind us on the board, but it is a lot. We're getting new baby squirrels and possums in and bunnies pretty much every day. So yeah, we got a lot going on. So let's take a look. One of the things that's really important to keep in mind when we're working with these little babies is that they're born without fur, generally eyes closed, ears closed, and they rely on their moms to provide warmth and security for them, especially for the first few weeks of life. So since we're not going to be cuddling our babies in a little nest, we don't want to have that much hands-on interaction with them. We use incubators and heat pads to keep them warm. So all of the guys that you see over here in this corner are our littlest babies. They're getting fed the most throughout the day, and they just need that extra heat support to make sure that they continue to develop and grow and stay warm and secure. So that's what's going on over here.
And then on this side of the room, as our babies get a little bit older, we have to adapt their caging. They start to grow, they need more space to climb and play and develop their strength. So we have multiple different types of cages depending on the species and their age. The opossums must have really tiny openings because they're great at fitting through really small spaces. So we make sure that they have very small bars on their cages. And then the squirrels all have to be in metal caging because they can easily chew out of plastic. So we've had to modify many of our cages. You can see we've got a mix of kennels, wire caging, as well as cages that we've modified by adding extra mesh to make sure that they're extra secure and safe. The larger the cage, the larger the baby, and the closer they are to being ready to go outside. So we also have to modify their caging to introduce natural items, so by the time they're ready to move to their pre-release caging, they've already been introduced to rocks and sticks and pine cones and all those things that they're going to be finding naturally in the wild. The branches that we use are not just for decoration, though, they're also an important part of their diet. For a lot of squirrels, they're chewing on the bark and the leaves and the buds. So nourishment is the third thing that we're trying to provide for them. And speaking of nourishment, we have our feeding stations set up right behind you. And we're actually about ready to start our next feed.
So our little babies get a lot of different kinds of formula and solid foods as they get older, depending on the species, the age of development. So right now we're getting set up to feed one of our youngest babies. So with squirrels, something that's kind of interesting is that their mom's milk actually changes in nutritional consistency as the babies get older. So that's something that we really have to adapt to. So we give them different kinds of formula at different stages of their development. So as they're growing, we weigh them every single day, first thing in the morning, after they've gone to the bathroom, so we can get an accurate weight on them. We weigh them first thing in the morning, figure out how much they need, and figure out what kinds of formula they should be getting. Should we be switching them to a different one? Do we need to give them a little bit of extra fluid? So we're making all of these, decisions and calculations and assessments of the babies kind of every step along the way. So we've got one of our formulas here warming up in this baby bottle warmer. It has to be basically, 98 degrees?
Yep.
That's the temperature that's most palatable for them. If it's too cold, they can have trouble digesting it. If it's too hot, if you drink like a really hot coffee, we're adult animals, so that's not great for us. Imagine for a little baby. So we've got our whole feeding set up here with our little syringes. This is a special kind of syringe where the plunger slides a lot more easily than some of the other syringes that you might see for the medications that we give, for example. So this one unfortunately has some numbers worn off. We have to replace these a lot because we need to wash them every single time we use them, and so, you know, that's going to rub off. So this one, luckily, we can still see the marks that we need. And then we've got our little feeding nipple here. This one might be a little bit big for this guy. We actually have 2 different sizes for different ages. And again, we do have to replace these as they wear out. The babies do have sharp teeth, so you know, they'll bite through them, and so we need to make sure that they're in good condition for them.
And while Chris gets ready to feed our youngest baby squirrel, I'll just show you some more of our diet preparations. So these are examples of what our older squirrels will be receiving. When we start to introduce them to solid foods, we do often soften it for them to make it a little bit easier and more palatable for them. Then we start to introduce small amounts of seed, fruits, and vegetables to help balance out their diet. And then I also wanted to give you just a little peek at our current smallest patient who just came in today and is also about ready for his feed once we sign off. So this little opossum was just found this morning. Someone was out walking their dog and they found him on the sidewalk all by himself. That little sneezing noise that he's making means that he's hungry. He's looking for his mom and his siblings. So we'll keep him in the incubator in between feeds to make sure that he stays the same temperature that he would be if he was still in his mom's pouch.
So this little baby is somewhere around 3 weeks old. You can see our eyes are still closed, but our ears are starting to open. So she's very sensitive to sound, so that's why we're talking very quietly. And you know, if we weren't sharing all of this with you, actually we wouldn't be talking to them at all. That's part of keeping them wild, is, you know, we don't want to first overstimulate them with people talking, and, you know, second, you know, we don't want to get them accustomed to humans. That's one of the difficult things about raising these babies, is we do want them to grow up and not like us. That's our goal. That means we've done our job correctly. So that's kind of in the back of our minds with everything that we're doing with these little guys. They won't go to the bathroom on their own, especially at this age. So I've got a little damp piece of cloth here. I'm just gonna make him go to the bathroom for me. One of the delightful parts of baby squirrel parenting. So being a little bit squirmy. She might be camera shy. chart, I can see how much she's supposed to get. I'm going to go ahead and test the temperature. That's a pretty good temperature for her. We want to test every time because, again, we don't want to burn them and we don't want to give them a formula that's too cold.
We'll head back out into the hall. Thanks everybody so much for joining us for our brief tour of our Baby Mammal Nursery. We really appreciate your support and hope that you'll continue to tune in. We have another live video coming up on Monday, April 29th, where we'll show you some of our diet preparation for some of our other patients. And if you can, please donate to help support the warmth, nourishment, and security of our orphan baby birds and mammals. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.